Alright, so what we got here? This is a new accessory kit I'm going to be offering on the website, and you'll be able to add this on to existing part kits or buy them individually. There's really not much to it. So what this is a light ring that goes underneath your 510 connector. I'll go over the parts here real quick and I'll do a quick demonstration. Each one will include 3 different resistors. You only need one of them for whatever build you're doing, but I'll explain that in a second. You get an acrylic ring, and this has the protective paper on it right now, so it doesn't look like much. And of course an LED. This is a 3 millimeter LED. I have them right now in red, green, blue, orange, and white. And then a switch just so you can turn it on and off if you don't want it on all the time. So what's it look like, you ask? This is my proof of concept box. There isn't actually a box mod in here. There's no electronics other than this switch or resistor and the LED. But so I'll turn this on and you can get an idea what I'm talking about here. With the lights on, it looks pretty cool. Turn the lights off, and that looks much better if you ask me. So let me grab an atomizer here. It looks even better with one of those on it. And so this would be the always on mode. But as you can see there, puts a nice little halo around your atomizer. So let's turn the lights back on so we can see what we're doing. Switch that off. So yeah, that's basically what it is. If I figured everything out correctly, you should be able to add this on to any kit on the website without issue. We're going to go through building it with a MOSFET box mod here. I just wired this up in series real quick, so real simple. And got the box already drilled out. To install the LED, we're just going to have to drill one small hole in the top of this box, and then we'll have to wire in the resistor, the LED, and the switch. So something to note, the ring that's on here right now, I sanded down around the edges, and that's why it looks a little bit different. I don't know if the camera can totally catch that. But I found out that sanding it down diffuses the light a lot better. So if I just take this out and hide it behind there, it doesn't quite do as well, if you ask me. So that might be one thing you might want to do when you're building this. I'm going to go through it with the build here. So, alright, so why does it come with 3 resistors, you ask? Because calculated the forward voltage on all these LEDs. So each one has a different value, and then depending on what voltage you're running your mod at. So if you're doing a MOSFET with parallel, you're probably about 4 volts. Series, you're at about 8 volts. This includes the OKR and Raptor as well. And then for like the DNA and SX350, about 11 volts. I think if I figured that out right. Which I might not have, but what can I say? I'm a psych major. So that's why the little kit comes with 3 resistors, and we'll be able to figure that out as far as everything goes. So let's get started. Alright, so all we need to install the LED, and I'm not talking about the rest of the box, is a drill with a 1/8 inch bit. And it should be big enough for the LED. Might have to clean up the hole just a little bit with a file, but other than that. So ideally, we have our 510 connector, and the LED will get installed underneath the 510 connector and the acrylic ring. So I'll take the paper off that real quick. Now the flat sides of it here, I don't really think it matters too much if it gets scratched up, but I'll just take off this protective paper. If I can get it here without stabbing myself with the X-Acto. Alright, so this goes onto the 510 connector like so, and due to the way these are cut by the laser, there is a slight angle in the bevel of the ring, and you probably want the smaller side, which I think I got there, at the top of the 510 connector, so it kind of goes down to a base. So putting the LED in, I'll try to come up with a good drilling diagram, but basically we just want to do it right next to the existing hole. And there should be enough room there to get all the hardware screwed in underneath and get that all connected together. Typically I drill out the 510 connectors with I believe 7/16 hole. So that's a little oversized for the 10 millimeters that they are, but that's okay. Something else to note, I upgraded my vise here, so I don't have to use cardboard anymore. This is HDPE, and I can just clamp the box straight into that now, which is kind of cool. I'm just going to take a punch now, and really I'm just kind of estimating. Can kind of hold this up here. So I'm going to go just a little bit outside the circle. Hopefully that isn't too close. Throwing stuff around here. And move that over just a little bit. And hope my drill can handle that. Safety glasses. So test fit that. It's not as tight as the last time I did it, but we'll work with it. Let's see here. Maybe the 9/64 is the way to go. Yeah, I'm gonna try that. Alright, so we just upgraded the hole to a 9/64. And that kind of sticks in there, so that'll probably be good enough. Alright, so that is the hole drilled, and if we throw our 510 connector in there, covers up the hole nice, and there's a bunch of shavings in there. So check it from the other side, looks good. So our LED will just feed right up into there. And there is enough of the 510 connector left on the inside to connect the nut and the negative ring on for the MOSFETs. Gotta use my words here today, jeez. Alright, next up, we gotta get this thing wired in. Again, not terribly hard here, but I'm gonna switch over to my El Squido setup so I can easily solder this together. Alright, so I'm not going to go over all of the soldering tools and everything like I normally do, because this is just the accessory stuff. So let's take a look at the wiring diagram here. Hopefully it stayed in place. There's a couple of different wires you can wire this, a couple of different ways you can wire this up, but mostly it's just we want to get the positive connected to the button that is used in the mod, and that's going to be off of this black wire here. The red wire will have voltage coming to it as long as it's on, and I'm going to set this up so the light ring only lights up when the button's pressed, since I think that'll look cooler. But you can set it up so it's only when the button's pressed or it's always on. And that's just a matter of connecting it directly to the positive through the switch or to the other side of the button. So this is just kind of like the extract of the parts that are actually involved in the LED. This isn't the actual box mod, because you'll note there's no actual 510 connector in here anywhere. So for this one, I built this in series, so I'm going to use the 8-volt model, and that means the 240 ohm resistor, which I have here. So let's get started on this. First thing I'm going to do is solder some wire onto the LED. And something important to note about the LED is it is polarized, or I think that's the right word. But the long lead here is the positive one, the cathode I believe it's called, and the short one is the anode or the negative lead. You don't want to clip those off before you at least mark and keep track of which one's which. So I'm just going to do it one at a time here. I'll get this piece of paper under here so you can actually see it. So clamp that in. First I'm just going to trim off a good chunk of the red, or the positive, I should say. It's going to be red wire. Alright, and for this I'm going to use some 26 gauge wire because it doesn't need to be too heavy or anything. It's just powering this little LED. We'll get that stripped down. And get out the flux and solder. Do. So tack that down. There we go. And now I'll clip off the negative one since we have the red wire attached. And connect some black wire. Going a little bit longer on this one because I'm actually going to cut part of this off, and we'll attach the resistor to that. Get that done up. And I'll grab my heat gun. It is a heat shrink gun in the sense that that is all that I use it for. And I'll throw in a little bit of this super skinny heat shrink tubing with the accessory. Get that up there. And that is the LED. Next up, let's do, I'm going to say let's do the switch next. So I want to figure out how we're going to arrange this before I start trimming the wire down too bad. Figure I will put the switch right up here, and that'll make it easy to switch on and off. There should be plenty of room there. So that wire doesn't need to be too long. Trim that up. put a little piece of tubing on this just to keep it all insulated. There we go. Now keep in mind I'm connecting this to the middle pin here, so we can select, depending on which position the switch is in, where the voltage for it is coming from. And you can forego the always on option just to have it be able to be switched off. So we won't, if you want to do that, you just don't connect anything to one of the pins. And I'm going to connect this other little bit of wire to one of those. And heat shrink that up. Okay, so like I said, you could attach another red wire here, and then you could just attach that directly to the positive connection on the battery sled, and that would give you an always on LED. Next up, we need to connect the resistor. So I'm going to trim a fair bit off of this black lead. And we'll cut down the resistor so there isn't so much bulk. Give it less chance to break as well, which is important. For this, I'm going to use the hands, and everyone can chastise me on my soldering technique, since I really care what you think. Go. Trim a bit more off of the resistor and connect the rest of that lead to it. I think with this I could go even shorter and you'd still be good. I think that's going to end up getting kind of coiled and bunched up inside the box anyways. Now use a little bit of this thicker heat shrink tubing and cover that all up. Make sure that's centered on there. There we go. Alright, and that is essentially the bulk of it. All we need to do now is solder this negative lead onto the battery sled, which should be pretty easy. Consequently, if you wanted to get kind of fancy, you could tack this negative lead right onto the ring of the 510 ring. I didn't do it that way this time because I figured it would be kind of a hassle. So I'm going to trim that off. So have to be kind of careful stuffing this into the box. Tack that down. A little bit more solder than that. A wire that would cooperate would be helpful as well. I.e. not that. Alright, that is in there. Now the only other wire to connect here is this red one, and that is going to go into the same screw on the button as this black one here. So we don't need to solder that in place. And I'm just going to try to preemptively curl this up. Maybe turn that around and rearrange it a little. Okay, now we just need to get it all in the box. Something to note, this is just general assembly tip from putting these boxes together. If you thread the nut onto these wires before you put everything in the box, then you can just thread it through here. And the only trick with this is going to be making sure the switch ends up in the right spot. And I think I'm going to want the LED over the 510 ring, but under the positive. And let's see here, where'd the 510 go? Here we are. Alright, make sure this is right side up again. There we go. And if you haven't watched the other ones, my tool of choice for installing 510 connectors is a quarter. And I'm just going to get this situated with a nut. Get that started on there. Tighten it down. Yeah, one thing I forgot, so I covered up the hole. So just loosen that a little. Get it moved down. So the hole is clear but still over the acrylic. I don't know if the camera can really pick that up. Next up, we will get the blue Delrin shield onto the positive of the 510 and get that screwed in place. As always, be careful with the dowel ring here. It is pretty soft and it's easy to cross thread. And the whatever you need there. Anytime, so I'm probably gonna cut that part out of the video because there's more things there and this. We could probably force it, but I don't really want to screw it up because I just have to waste the part. Alright, there. I'm done. 7 minutes later. Alright, button. The other part of the struggle here. So let's see here. I have to trim some of these wires back just a little bit so there isn't a giant cluster of wires in the box. But we do want to make sure that everything fits down in here and clears the button area. I don't know, I usually do about a finger's width for these. Alright, the first one I'm going to connect is that red one. I guess I should strip this too. More than that. I think I had too much caffeine today. Alright, now the real trick is going to be getting both of these into there at the same time. Try twisting those together. And if nothing else, I can just hit it with a little bit of solder. Not really having much luck here today. There we go. Alright, that is in. Now I'm going to shut off the camera while I try to get this thing mounted in here because it takes forever for me to get that lined up right. But essentially that is what is going to happen. Hey, alright, that was gotta be the easiest I've ever done that. Alright, for tightening up that nut, I just kind of push down on it. I am trying to keep the position of the button with these posts in the vertical, because that is how the sled will fit in there actually. And let's just get this all on the right side of everything. Yeah, that's pretty bad. Alright, so after I cut the video, I went ahead and glued the LED in place, and I just used some epoxy for that, and I glued the magnets in too, and just got it all kind of tucked down in there. I didn't glue the switch in, but I'll do that later. So I kind of forgot, but the acrylic ring isn't sanded on this one, so I guess that's kind of helpful because that'll provide contrast to the one that is sanded. So here's my little mock-up here with the sanded acrylic, and that is, I don't know, pretty muted if you ask me. And that one is quite a bit lighter. Kill the light here. So on the right side we have the sanded version, and the left side, I'm pressing the button right now, that is the unsanded version. I have to say, in person they look very different. I think the one on the right looks a lot better. So if you get this, I suggest sanding it. I just used some 320 grit, and we'll put the lid on here, and that's about as simple as it gets. I'll throw a atomizer on here. I'm not going to hit this because the juice on the cotton in here is kind of old, but that certainly does the trick. So there we go, acrylic light ring for your box mod. So you can find those on nonameboxmods.com, and check out the other kits on there.